Okay, so today's episode is a little bit different than our norm. It's just Megan and I, and we're just going to be talking about a yearly reflection of 2019. So it's been a really long journey, journey filled
About the
year.
same length as every single year, but yes.
Yeah, but we're just going to reflect on it and just talk a little bit about what has made this year special and brought us out of our shell, I guess.
Yeah, so it's obviously really common for people to do, New Year's resolutions and all that, but I personally find that I get a lot more um benefit and like personal growth out of just like looking, not like looking back because I don't like to live in the past, but reflecting on like things that you really appreciated, because sometimes it's easy when we're in an experience to either take it for granted if it's like a really amazing one when we're in the midst of it, or to um, not learn from it if we're in the midst of something bad, and just to sort of let it kind of consume us and affect us, but not really make us better in any way. So, yeah, we kind of wanted to do this episode just to, I don't know. I want to know what Aleena's learned. I mean, I have some outside perspectives of what I think how she's grown in my eyes. I'm sure she has the same for me, but it'd be cool for us to kind of, give it from our own perspective and be forced to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so into this right now. We've been friends for a long time, so at this point, we know each other pretty well. We might be halfway across the country, but we talk every day. And I think that out of all people, like, you know so much about me, so I definitely think you have ideas as to what I'm going to say for a lot of these different themes and over 2019. And I think I have some ideas from an outside perspective about what your year has been like.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be cool.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
So, I'll start. Even though earlier before we started recording, I said, Aleena, you could start, but I know I'm all inspired now. Shocking. I got about 3 hours of sleep, so I'm a little brain dead, but hopefully that'll make for a good conversation.
Yes.
Okay. Theme of the year for me, um, has been about priorities. So as I've talked about before on the podcast, I since 2016, well, actually really 2015 is when I began, but 2015 through 2018, I was super, super focused on, getting to stage, competing in bodybuilding in the bikini division. Obviously anyone who's been in those shoes understands how much dedication it takes, and how much discipline, and how much you really just have to, like, 24/7, 365, be thinking about that exact goal, and all of your decisions are supposed to, be moving towards that. And that's really how you become successful in it. Which is obviously, I don't ever really do anything half-assed. So I plan on being successful. But this year was the first year that I didn't compete since I met Aleena. Actually, Aleena was, we were in the same show together, our first show. So yeah, and now that I think about it, it's crazy that it is the first year that I haven't competed. And so what I would say that this year has been for me is about just like priorities. My priorities have changed, I think, for the better. Not saying that competing is bad at all, and it's definitely still on the table for me someday, because there's so much about it that I love, and so much it has given me as far as like self-discipline and self-efficacy, and just being able to really like tap into like the stores of what my soul can handle as far as pushing myself and just helping other people too. Honestly, it makes you grow a lot. But I've prioritized other parts of myself, like just, I haven't been tracking my food, which I'm sure Aleena will get into that. I haven't been weighing myself all the time. I have been focusing on, I'm always going to love the gym. And honestly, it's crazy how, like, once I stopped focusing so much on like the fact that I had given up competing and I was just clinging to it still, I became a lot less um, self-destructive, I feel like. And that was reflected in my body composition. Like, not saying that I like got all fluffy or anything like that for anyone that understands that term. But I think it really goes to show how much your your intentions and your just how you feel about your decisions on a day-to-day basis reflect in how you appear and really how you see yourself. And that is just a snowball effect, honestly. So I feel that since kind of taking a step back from the stage, I've been able to gain a lot more perspective on why it is that I really love it and why it is that I can take time away from it and know that it's still going to be there if I do decide I want to go back. But there's a lot of other things about my life right now that I'm super excited about and I get a lot more from, and competing is no longer like the only thing that I'm obsessed with. But it's still something that I really appreciate and that I definitely still am thinking about on the table. But I've grown a lot in my ability to, go to social gatherings without worrying about, all the things that are going along with them. Just being able to prioritize other people rather than like worrying about myself all the time, which actually I tend to do both of those things. And I think that's one reason why I can get a little bit burned out and frustrated sometimes. But yeah, it's been a year of priority shifts and just a year of clarity in my priorities for me. So that was a really roundabout answer, but hopefully there are a couple little interesting things I said in there.
I thought it
All
was
right.
good. I thought it was very accurate
Thank
for
you.
year 2019.
How about you? Let's hear
2019 was rough for me, but
it.
no, I'm very grateful and thankful for what I went through this year. I went through some interesting stuff with my health, and I'd say the theme of my year is probably just I've always been an athlete, and I have always said that I've put my health first, but until you have to, you don't really realize what that means. And I think I've actually put myself and my health first this year. And I have decided, like, I mean, when we did bodybuilding, and I thought I was so healthy, and I wasn't. I stressed myself out throughout all my weightlifting competitions and training the last 3 years, training so hard. If I missed one day of training, I would basically reprimand myself and not let myself eat. I never gave in. I was so strict with dieting for years. And this year I stopped tracking. We both did this year. And it was such a huge growth for me to learn that I can be very healthy and not track and be on top and track everything, my whatever steps, food intake, just control everything, scale weight. I mean, I've weighed myself for so long, and I haven't weighed myself since July, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I've put my health first in a different way than I ever thought I would. I have just focused on myself and what makes me feel good, and not just beating, not
Sorry.
just, I haven't just like focused on beating myself up in the gym. And I've just put myself first, even though I went through a lot of health concerns this year, and I'm still going through it. It's a process. It's not something that just goes away. I still have blood work that I'm not really that happy with, but you know, I'm I'm like okay with it, and I don't know, not as stressed about the little things. And maybe the theme of the year is, yeah, putting my health first, but yeah, I'm also not as stressed out about the little things. So I think that's my yearly reflection. Also, roundabout way of saying, not that much, but
Good. Okay. Sorry, you done?
yeah, I'm
I'm
done.
not trying to make you do you done. You
No,
just
you're good. You're good. Go.
okay. So to kind of focus in on the theme of the year and the biggest personal growth experience that I can remember off the top of my head right now, I would say hands down, doing the Whole30. That I did that in right after my birthday in May. And I think so from April last year in 2018 through basically culminating up until May of this year, I was kind of just at a loss. Like I was like still just like constantly thinking about competing and like tracking my food, but not really, and then restricting, but not really, because I was binging and just like really just treating my body like trash. And I didn't really, it was strange because like I always feel really connected and um like in a flow state in the gym. And I look back and like the only time I really felt like that in 2018 was when I was training for Strong First. And then after Strong First, I kind of just, I feel like I can't even remember really how I felt or how I grew up until May. And then I did the whole 30. And for everyone, well, for people who didn't listen to our podcast with Steph Care, um, the whole 30 is basically like you eliminate all processed foods, all legumes, all dairy, all sugar, like fake sugar, real sugar, any kind of sugar, and all gluten products. I believe that is all the things you eliminate. Um, Pretty much you strip down the food just to just like one ingredient foods and nothing that can be quote unquote inflammatory, at least commonly inflammatory in a lot of people. And you're not allowed to weigh yourself. You're not allowed to weigh any food. You don't worry about like quantities or anything like that. And yeah, I did that, and it was real. And I also journaled throughout it, which I think was really cool because it was super eye opening. um, and liberating to not be like focusing on like, oh, I wonder if I've lost weight. Cause honestly, it was crazy. I felt really good. And I noticed all these different things. Like my body felt less, like my joints, I never really realized that they were inflamed. And they're obviously not super inflamed, but um, I did notice a huge difference in just like inflammation in general. And like some weird, like my scalp, I had no idea that it was so flaky before, but it like literally stopped being flaky. And I always just thought that it was dry or something, but I think it was actually probably gluten, because I added that in first because I don't get any like digestive effects from it. And I'm pretty sure it is gluten or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's not really that big of a deal for me to have a little bit flaky scalp, whatever. But I'm sure if it's manifesting on your skin, it's probably manifesting inside you as well. A disclaimer for everybody. But anyway, yeah, it was cool. And then I did weigh myself after, and I like took progress pictures, and I was like, holy crap, like it was, I mean, I took my first pictures right after I had gone camping and like didn't sleep well and um, didn't work out at all, didn't drink a lot of water, ate a lot of different food. And so I was definitely inflamed, but like I lost like 15 pounds. And then
Yeah.
after I started adding things back in, I lost like another 4, and I've been maintaining it. And I'm not eating super strict at all. I still don't really do dairy. I'll do a little bit sometimes, but I realized for sure that is something that bothers me. And so I've just kind of like prioritized avoiding it. And when I have a little bit, I'm not like super stressed. But that was definitely the biggest turning point for me. And it was the biggest thing that kind of like snapped me back into reality and was like, okay, Megan, like you're doing this for your health and to like be in tune with your body and like make you a better human and a better, more effective person for society and like everyone that you interact with. And it was kind of cool because I was like, oh wow, this is something bigger as far as like what I can do on a daily basis and help people with, because most people's problem isn't like they need to track macros. It's really like just trying to get them to eat real food. And if everyone just did that, then we would have a lot less problems, and that would not just be like body fat loss. So yeah, that was cool for me. And it just really helped, not us thinking aside of like everything body composition or like how I felt physically, just how I felt mentally. It was just like, it was liberating to just focus on like the pure things and not be constantly thinking about food, mostly because all the things that I could eat were super boring. I mean, all foods that I like, but it was just like, whatever. I don't really have that many options. So I'm not going to fixate on like, oh, what am I going to have next? Or, yeah, so that was cool. But definitely my biggest growth experience. And the biggest thing that was kind of a game changer for me as a nutrition coach. And then just in general, how I've realized like the gluten chaos, and everybody's freaked out about dairy and gluten. There's definitely some fact in it.
Yeah.
For sure. And a lot of people could benefit from eliminating them to see kind of how it affects them if they want to.
Definitely. I mean, I can relate. In February is when I stopped eating dairy, and I cannot eat dairy. So we just stuck off that. But yeah, no, you learn a lot when you test things out on yourself. You really learn a lot. So for me, my biggest like personal growth this year probably also goes around the same similar thing that you were talking about was just tracking my food. I had tracked my food for like 4, 5 years and I stopped, and that was huge. And I haven't tracked my food since the summer. And it was really hard at first for nutrition coaches listening that, track, or just people that track their food. You get very into relying on your app to tell you what to eat, how much to eat. And I was so reliant on that I knew my weight would stay the exact same. So I knew training weight, I would always be around what I needed to be. But it was creating a lot of stress and havoc in my life to weigh myself every day, every other day, and then to track my food every single day. And I'm not the type of person to just not track on the weekends and track throughout the week. It just would mess me up. So I just stopped tracking. And I did have one slip up, but it's been great since then. And that was a really big personal growth for me. And it taught me that I can rely on my own intuition with choosing food choices and just learning my own hunger cues. And it's really important. And I mean, for my sport, yeah, I have to, be a certain weight, but right now I'm not doing my sport. So it's been it helped lower my stress a lot to separate myself from that. So that's probably my biggest personal growth, or at least one of them. So I could just go into the next one. It's basically like one thing that I learned this year. The biggest thing I learned this year is that my sport is not my identity. I'm a human and I'm happy to be here. And yeah, I'm happy when I get to do my sport, but I also do not need my sport to feel alive. And I think that's something that I would not have said earlier this year. But when everything kind of went down and I had to stop doing my sport, I had to come to this conclusion like, it's okay and you're going to move forward and you're going to be okay. And you do not need a barbell to have happiness. And I think I really learned that this year. And I've come into my own self and I'm happy to be who I am. And and gymnastics has made me who I am, but I have a lot of other characteristics and qualities and I'm a human first. So that's what I learned. What did you learn this year?
Well, this is something that I've always kind of believed, but I think I allowed myself to get a little bit like self-limiting just based on like, oh, well, I chose a certain route and so I got to stick with it, and just like sort of allowed myself to become complacent. And this year I learned I relearned, if you don't like where you are, move. And that's really how I've been my whole life. And I don't know what it was that got me sort of stuck in a rut, but I've made some decisions based on like my gut feelings. And I know for a fact your gut feelings, they're there for a reason and they will never steer you wrong, as long as you pay attention to them and you really are self-aware and just reflect on like what you truly are feeling and not just let yourself get caught up in emotions. I'm being super like vague with all of this, but basically in a nutshell, I switched jobs in August. I was working for a chiropractic sports rehab company called Northwest Sports Rehab before, and I absolutely love that company. I honestly had them to thank for so much of my growth as a movement specialist, and just like, oh my God, I can't even express how grateful I am for all of those people because they're absolutely amazing. But I wasn't happy with how much I was able to do in my role there, which, I mean, it was the role that I took a job for, so it's not like anything on them, but I knew that I had to change it up. So I started working for a physical therapy company closer to home, and then I realized um, these gut feelings that I've had for a really long time are because I need to make some bigger career changes. So currently in the process of that, and I won't say anymore. But I know without a doubt that I'm doing the right thing for myself. And I'm really excited for all that there is to come, even though I know it's going to be kind of a long road. Okay, so I'll answer the next one because it'll be a really short answer. What would I have done differently? Absolutely nothing. Again, I said before, like, I don't really like to live in the past, but genuinely, like, I can't think of anything that I would change this year because I feel like everything, even the stuff that sucks a lot, or the misguided decisions you make that kind of like set you off your path to where you ultimately want to be, like all those detours, they have a reason. You're going to meet people along the way, like Aleena or my boyfriend Chaz, that you wouldn't have if you would have made a different turn in your road. And you're always, as long as you're listening to your heart, you're always going to come back to your path, and everything you gain along the way, whether you went to like the other side of the planet or whatever. You can't think of it as like a mishap or a detour. Even, you just think of it as like a stepping stone that is going to make you a better person with better experiences that set you apart from everyone else that's on the same path as you. So yeah, that's what I would have done differently. Nothing. How about you?
That's a really good answer. I wish I could say the same, but unlike you, I do live in the past.
I know. We talk about it literally every day on the phone.
What would I have done differently? Basically, kind of similar to what I learned. I would not stress as much, and I think I'm getting a lot better. It takes a lot of time. I'm learning through different modalities and people around me that are showing me kind of how to not stress as much over the little things by the way they live their lives. But I think I was very, very stressed out when I was told I cannot lift anymore, or leading into that. And I stopped lifting in, when did I stop lifting? June 23rd. I remember. And
living in the past.
yeah, I'm really bad with some dates. I like just remember. But yeah, I have always been really hard on myself, and it's something I'm working on every day. I'm trying not to be as hard on myself, but I took a full month off of exercise. Basically, not total exercise. I mean, I was walking and doing hiking and stuff like that and bike riding, but I stopped doing weightlifting and training and anything that would stress my body out. And I realized in that month, like, it's okay. You don't need to do this to yourself. You're still alive, and you can be a really great human and have a really great time in life without killing yourself under the barbell or just stressing about all these things. So I think just not being so hard on myself and not letting myself get so stressed out is really what I would have done differently. And it's also something that I'm still working on. So yeah, we're all, stepping stones.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to in 2020?
Well, I have a bunch of things written down. I'm going to try to consolidate them. The big goals that I kind of talked about before, one stepping stone is actually taking place on Tuesday, so we'll see how that goes. Focusing my priorities even further. I feel like I did a good job of kind of like filtering through some bullshit that I had around the last year, and kind of just putting things more towards things that allow me to grow. Aleena's laughing at me. And learning how to say no, which I really suck at, and is honestly, as any athletic trainer that's listening to this, it's hard to say no because you feel like it's literally your job to say yes. And it's confusing being able, like, having the choice to say no about things. But yeah, I'm going to start saying no more. And I'm also going to shut my trap and be a better listener and a better observer. I got really excited this morning. My screen time on my iPhone was down 77% to 1 hour a day, which actually shocks me. But then I think back and I'm like, okay, I spent a ton of time working like with my hands, like actually doing things with my athletes, and a lot of time watching CEUs on my computer screen. So I guess that's not really, because hey, heads up, we got to submit 50 next month. No, this month. Oh my God. Yeah. 50 CEUs this month, just so you know. So
I'm good because of PRI.
they don't audit anyway. So,
Like I am totally
I
good.
probably shouldn't say it on a podcast. Okay. Anyway, me too. And I've actually learned a lot, but that's why I haven't been looking at my phone, which is actually really refreshing. But yeah, so being a better observer, is definitely going to be something that's going to benefit me, and being a better listener, because I find myself constantly when someone else is talking, even if I ask them a question and I'm interested in what the question would be answered with, I'm like anticipating what they're going to say and anticipating my response, as if like I'm going to lose out on something if I don't like say something after. Or the fear of being misunderstood, or like like I don't like when people are not aware that I know something, which I think is a totally an ego thing that I just need to get over, because it's exhausting trying to get everybody to know that I know a lot of things, because I don't know that much. But yeah, so that's something I've realized about myself. So definitely going to work on being a better listener. Yeah. What about you?
Okay, so this is going to be out there. Are you ready for it?
All right, let's hear it.
I've gotten really into astrology lately because I got my birth chart read, and Jupiter has just gone into Capricorn. Yes, it's a thing.
Oh my
And
God.
it's so real and it's happening and I feel it. I'm serious. And it basically I business wise, I love my job. I love working with people, helping people get out of pain, and also training people and making people stronger and teaching them movement fundamentals that maybe they didn't learn because they didn't play as a kid or whatever. But I think I really just want my work, and I want to be abundant in my work. I want to work more. And it's not about the money for me. It's never been. It's really about seeing I wouldn't have gone into athletic training in general if it was about the money, but just seeing the look on people's faces when you do help them get out of pain and you help them achieve whatever they are looking to achieve. And I just love my job, and I really want to be able to work more consistently, and maybe have bigger plans going into the future. I don't know where it's going to take me, this work, but I know that I definitely want to work more, and I want to be great at my job. I want to teach more groups. I want just, I guess, abundance in my work, but that has a lot to do with Jupiter going into Capricorn. But that is what I feel deeply.
Cool.
um,
We should get like an astrologist on here.
we could get
Because I'm going to be totally honest, I think that it really just like, it's almost like the placebo effect is real, but it's because it puts things into your head and it forces you to stop focusing on other things that are going to affect you.
You haven't gotten your birth chart read.
Whatever. Okay, that's fine. Okay, actually, you know, I'm going to keep my mind open, but not so open that my brain falls out. So we're going to we'll leave it there.
For your birthday, I'll get you a birth chart reading, and then you will come back to me, and you will come back to me and you will say something different.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I love you. Okay. The biggest thing I've seen in Aleena this year it has been, I've only known you for
5 years, maybe.
5 years. I've known you for 5 years, a little over 5 years, almost 4. Oh my God. Almost 6 years.
Almost 6, yeah.
Yeah, in May it'll be 6.
Mm-hmm.
On my birthday, actually.
Yep.
It's my birthday. Anyway, the biggest thing I've seen in you this year has by far been your self-awareness. You tend to get, ever since I've known you, you've always tended to get like whirled up in a bunch of stuff and affected by your environment, which you still do for sure. And I can only imagine how hard it is in that city with all the stresses that you have with like employing yourself and you know, having to constantly work to keep your clients, and just always having to be in that like kind of sympathetic state. But I really think that you've worked your ass off through losing what was a lot of your identity as sport. Like I can only imagine if I lost that, like I would have a really hard time with it too. And it's been really inspiring to see you kind of come, I wouldn't say full circle because you're obviously still working through it, but you have become so much more self-aware. and it's empowering for you. Like I've seen you still have rough days for sure, but you're so much more positive about it. Like, that it's not everything that you are. And I think it's made you honestly a better coach for all of your clients. It's made you a better friend. It's just, your self-awareness has increased a lot, because you used to just always get caught up in things and not realizing that you could control how you were responding to them. And now you're just so much better at that. And I'm very proud of you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Made my day.
Wow. It's almost over too. I'm so impressed.
Oh, it's only 3 p.m. here.
I want to go to bed right now. So anyway, okay.
So what I've seen in you, since I've known you, I think it's really been tough for you to share like your deep emotions. And I feel like this year you've been able to open up about things that you normally wouldn't have. Even if it's something little and it's just a stressor at work that's bothering you that you'd normally just it would either sit in your head for a little, or you just keep it internal. I think you have really tried to work on not keeping those emotions so internal so they eat you up inside. You actually let them out. And it could be to me on the phone, but I think your ability to like communicate, I think with like a lot of things, you've definitely gotten better with that. And sometimes I'll like push you a little to share certain things, but I usually just wait and see. Like, are you going to share whatever information's bothering you? And I know if you're in a bad mood. We were just talking about that this morning. But I think being able to emotionally unload when you need to, and knowing that that is an important aspect of living and kind of taking care of yourself. It is. If you want to be your happiest and feel good, you need to be able to emotionally unload somewhere, wherever it is. It could be in a therapy session. It could be to your best friend. It doesn't matter. But just being able to let those emotions out so they don't eat at you is it's hard to do, but it's really beneficial for you. And I think this year that's something you've worked on. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I definitely think that you have grown in that part of who you are. So
thank you. I've definitely cried a lot more this year than I have in a lot of past years. And I mean, clearly I let my gut feelings help me make decisions with things that I would normally just try to force myself to work through. So thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even realize that until you said it, but you're definitely right.
Yeah.
Cool. It was. Yeah.
Feels good.
I really didn't want to do it. I'll be totally honest. I was like,
I know.
I felt just like brain dead and tired, but yeah, I'm really, really glad we did this as usual. It's always easy to talk to you.
Yay.
All right.
Well, this was a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot more people coming on in 2020. We have some really big guests coming on and we're so excited for it, but they're surprised. So we cannot tell you.
You guys will love it. And I would encourage anyone else who's listening to this, don't just make your New Year's resolutions. Really like take these last couple weeks of December while I'm sure you don't have anything busy going on with work or parties or anything like that, but like just reflect on like all the things that you've grown in this year and how the things that you can look forward to next year.
Well, they might hear this in January.
Okay. Well, still
but
reflect. Reflection is important.
Yes. Reflect and then look forward.
Correct.
That should be the name of this episode.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Peace out, 2019.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye, 2019.